Have you ever needed something and gone to buy it and found an amazing deal and you just couldn't believe your luck that you found exactly what you were looking for a great price? Well, that happened to me a few years ago, and I'm still thinking about it today, and I thought we'd talk about that a little bit here on A Coffee Chat in a Van. So welcome. My name is Scott, and this is my YouTube channel, StaticCampervan. And from time to time, we brew up a cup of coffee and we sit down and have a little chat about a variety of things. And today I just wanted to talk about a deal, an amazing deal that I got on something that I really needed at the time. And it turns out I still need it today. So this is going to require a bit of a backstory to fill you in on the details before we get into that product that I bought. We'll talk about that in a moment, but just to give you some better detail on this story, let's start back at the beginning. Well, very near the beginning. So I have been living in a campervan, a minivan that I built out into a campervan for about 7.5 years now, just over 7.5 years. And I originally started out in Southern California in the desert. It was very hot, and that had some advantages in one way, but definitely some disadvantages in the other. For one thing, living in a hot environment is difficult, but the great thing about it was I didn't need a lot of things like heavy blankets or a heater in my van or a winter coat. And the winter coat is the thing we're going to talk about here. So after about 1.5 years of living in the desert, I decided I had enough of that heat and I needed to get out of there. So I headed to Reno, Nevada to spend a little bit of time with a friend who just moved there. And on my way out of Southern California, I thought, if I'm going to wind up in the Pacific Northwest, which is what I was hoping to do, even though I was heading towards Reno, I was hoping to eventually wind up in the Pacific Northwest. I had friends in Seattle that had invited me up, and I thought that would be a great place to go and visit. It was the opposite of everything that I knew. I've spent more than 40 years of my life living in the desert, and Seattle is definitely the opposite of that. So it sounded like a great idea, but living all that time in the desert, I didn't have a lot of winter-type clothes, and I think at the time I had a fairly light and inexpensive rain jacket, and I was wondering, was that going to hold up to this rain that I heard about in Seattle? I heard that Seattle just rains all the time and never stops. So I thought maybe I'm going to need another rain jacket, a better rain jacket to get properly prepared. And I'm probably going to need a better winter coat. So when I was in Southern California, we did get some cooler temperatures. It occasionally gets down near freezing, but that's very, very rare. So I would get by just layering up a few different sweater type jackets, lighter type jackets. So I'd normally wear a hoodie, sweatshirt underneath a Patagonia jacket, and that did pretty good for even the colder days for me. I would move around, keep moving, and with that layered effect, I would be able to get by. But I knew that wasn't going to be enough, and so as I left Southern California, I stopped at an outlet mall, and I went into a Columbia store, and I had a jacket in mind. I did a little bit of research, and I found a jacket that Columbia sold that was called a 3-in-1 jacket. And so it was made to be able to put together two jackets into one and have a nice big kind of winter coat. Or you could separate the two jackets and use it as a rain jacket by itself, and then as a sweater type coat on its own as well. And I had one very specific one in mind. Had to be black, surprise, surprise there. And I really wanted the one that was made with goose down. I know goose down is not to everybody's liking. but I decided that I wanted the warmest of warm jackets, and I wanted it to be not too heavy, and I also wanted it to be able to scrunch down and stick in a small spot in the van. Remember, I am living out of a minivan, so I don't have a whole lot of space for big winter-type parkas, and so I thought, keep the winter coat as small as possible, and this 3-in-1 jacket idea seemed like it would be a great fit for me. It'd give me that rain jacket that I was looking for. The down coat part of it was definitely going to be a lot warmer than anything I had before, and so I thought, with the few little sweaters and jackets that I already owned, this would be able to get me through if I could find one at a good price. Now, the problem with this jacket that I picked out, this was the perfect jacket that I picked out on Columbia's website. I did look at some other brands as well, but it seemed like Columbia had the best price on the thing that I was looking for. But even still, it was about $200, maybe even a little over $200 for this jacket. So that's why I stopped at the outlet store, and I thought, hopefully I can find something similar there at the outlet store, even though I was in Southern California. So in the area that I stopped was a little bit cooler of an area than where I was from, thinking that hopefully they would have a better selection of winter coats, because where I was from in the desert, there were not a lot of winter coats that were being sold in any store. So I went in and looked around, and I saw some winter coats that looked good. I didn't see any down coats, and I didn't see anything that was on sale. And so as I was wandering around the store, just making sure I didn't miss anything, one of the employees came up to me and asked me what I was looking for specifically. And I told him that I saw a coat that I really wanted on their website, and it was down, and it was a 3-in-1 coat. And he said, I think I might have something. Wait there. I'm going to go in back, and I'll be right back out with it and show you what I have, what I'm thinking about. So he walked away, and I thought, okay, he's not going to come back again, so I can just continue looking around the store and just see if I see anything that looks remotely interesting or that has a little bit better of a price. I wasn't liking the prices there, even though it was an outlet store. Everything seemed to be a bit expensive, maybe not really expensive for winter coats, and I don't like to be cold, so the prices were about $150 to $180 for all the coats that I was looking at that seemed like they would work for a Pacific Northwest winter type season, thinking about rain and being a little bit chilly. Now, the nice thing about the Seattle area is that it doesn't get very cold. So I happen to be in the Seattle area right now. Tonight is going to be fairly chilly, but it's not terribly bad. It's down under 40 degrees Fahrenheit, but that's not terribly bad at all. So I'm thinking of all these things, and I'm looking around the store and thinking, if I spent $150 on a winter coat, it would probably be well worth it. I didn't know much about Columbia stuff. I just had zeroed in on them because they seemed to be the best price online. And they had an outlet store at one of the outlet malls in Southern California, and so it seemed like a good place to stop and look around. So by this time, the salesperson comes back out from the back, and he's carrying this black 3-in-1 parka, this one, in fact. Now, my lighting's not great here tonight, so you'll kind of have to bear with me. But if you do watch my regular videos and my regular vlogs and want to get a better look at this, I'm sure you're going to see a much better look at this because we are getting into the winter season. And so I think I'm going to be wearing this a lot. But we can get a little bit of a look at it here tonight. So wouldn't you know, when I took a look at this, I realized this was the exact jacket that I had picked out, well, the exact coat, I should say, that I had picked out on Columbia's website, thinking that this would be the perfect winter coat for me. This is a down 3-in-1 jacket. It has a highly waterproof outer layer, and it has a hood on it, and it just seemed like the perfect thing online. And when I looked at it in person, I really thought this is the perfect coat. Now, the other coats in the store were not down, and they were about $150 to $180, and so I'm wondering, how much is this one going to be? So I asked that question, and he says to me, well, this is a really good deal. This was bought online, and the person returned it to the store here. So it's the only one like it. We don't have any others like it, and it is marked down quite a bit. And he told me a certain percentage off. It was a very big percent off. Now I'm not good at math, so if you throw some numbers at me, I can't do math in my head. So when he gave me that percentage off, and I don't even remember what that was anymore, again, bad with numbers, so they just don't stick in my brain. But when he told me that percentage, that this was going to be discounted, I really had no clue as to what that was going to be. It sounded good because it was a big number, but I really didn't know. So he's looking at me, and I probably had a very quizzical look on my face because I'm trying to crunch numbers in my head, which is impossible, and so nothing's happening up there. So he tells me, so the price of it would be about $40 plus tax. Now I just stopped in my tracks, and I'm looking at this coat, and I'm looking it all over. So now he tries to reassure me. He says, this coat has a full warranty, and there's nothing wrong with it. They never wore the coat. They just returned it. And so it's basically like a brand new coat. Now I can see this. I'm holding the coat in my hands, and I could see that this was a coat that no one had worn and looked brand new, other than the fact that on one of the tags on the inside was some red writing just on the white part of the tag there. That was the only thing that I could see that made it look like it wasn't brand new right off of the hanger. So my brain is not quite comprehending just what is going on here. I knew it was a good deal, but I'm thinking has to be too good to be true. So I finally understood what he was saying, and I said to him, so he again repeated that it was going to be about $40 plus tax, and I said to him, sold. And he said to me, what? Now he didn't understand what I was saying. And I said, I'll take it. I will absolutely take it. This was the coat that I was hoping to find, and at that price, I can't pass this up. So this coat costs me $40 plus tax. I don't remember what the tax was, but I think of this as my $40 coat. And it has been an amazing coat. I have used this coat for 5 winter seasons. The last season that I used it, I was here in the Seattle area. I used it quite a bit. Now, the last couple of winters, I have not been around a real cold area. I've been back down south, either in Southern California or in Arizona, and I kind of felt like I didn't need it in those areas. It kind of felt like it was too heavy of a coat, and so I stopped using it. I've had it put up front in my cab area. There's a little space up above the driver's area, and I stuffed it up there a couple of seasons ago, and it's just been sitting there ever since. But this year something has changed, and I've decided that I want to stay up in the Pacific Northwest all winter. Now, I don't know if that's going to be possible or not, but that is my intention. And so today I got this coat out of my storage area, took it apart, went to the laundromat and did some laundry, and I gave it a good washing. Having it stuffed up in a tiny little spot meant the down was really compressed, and it was a little dirty too. I constantly leave my van windows open, and so things get a little dusty from time to time, and with it being sitting up there for so long, it was pretty dirty, and it was the down was in pretty bad compressed shape. But I put it through the laundry, and it seemed to clean up really well. It looks really good, other than a few little spots here and there. Now, I do believe I used it for about 5 winter seasons up here in the Seattle area. And the last winter that I used it, I did notice that the waterproof membrane in the outer layer of this coat is starting to deteriorate a little bit. So there's some questions as to whether it's going to be a waterproof jacket anymore. So the rain is going to be back here in a couple of days, as well as some colder temperatures. So I'm sure I'm going to get quite a bit of use out of this. So we'll see if it works. But there are some areas here, like on the sleeves down low, and you probably won't be able to see this too well, but there's some fraying on some of the stitching here, and I did notice the last time I wore it that I did get a little bit of water seepage through the lower part of the arm here. That was really the only part that caused any trouble the last time I used it, so I'm hoping it's still going to be okay. Now, this is a really fantastic jacket, and back when I bought this, I really didn't know much about Columbia. I had a good opinion of the company, but I think maybe I'd only owned 1 or 2 things from them before, and so I hadn't owned a lot, so I wasn't real sure about the quality of it. But I have to say, this has been probably the best winter jacket I've ever owned, although being from Southern California, I have not owned very many winter jackets, but I have owned a few. I did live in the East Coast for a little while, a very short while, so I had a number of winter jackets there, and this one is definitely better than any that I've had before. The nice thing about these 3-in-1 jackets, like I was saying before, is you can take them apart and use them in 2 different ways, or you can just zip them up together and use them as a winter coat. Now, what I've found using this over the last several seasons is that I don't really care for it apart. I think the rain jacket part is a little bit too bulky and baggy. It's great to be able to fit lots of layers underneath it, but it doesn't fit real well without the down coat zipped into it. And the down coat itself is nice and warm, but without the outer layer of the waterproof membrane of the outside jacket, wind blows through the coat very, very easily, and so I don't find just wearing the inner layer by itself to be very helpful. It's not quite warm enough, I don't think. And also, the inner layer doesn't have any waterproof membrane at all on it, and so you do have to be careful not to get caught out in the rain somewhere, because this is a down fill, and so if you do get it wet, of course it would provide little to no insulating value. So I have really only found it useful to use this zipped together as one parka, but I have found that it works extremely well like this. And so now that it's getting to be a bit colder, I'm eager to try this out, and hopefully it will be just as good as it has always been. Now, there is a slight chance that this is not going to work out and that I will have to replace it. And if I do have to replace it, I will gladly do so. I did stop at a Columbia Outlet Store here the other day in the Seattle area. There are several here around the Seattle area, and they still sell a jacket very similar to this. They look slightly different. The outer fabric is slightly different. I think the ones that I saw at the store lately had a little heavier of a outer layer, which seems like it might be a good idea. It might be better for hiking and things. It might be a little more abrasion resistant. So the newer ones maybe look a little bit better than this older one. But they are very, very similar. One thing that maybe some people might think is a bit of a gimmick is on the inside of these jackets, they have a silver lining, and maybe you can see that a little bit there. See, it's a little bit reflective. So they put this kind of foil silver lining on the inside with the idea that it would reflect a little bit of body heat back towards you. And I don't know if this works or not, but I can tell you that this is the warmest jacket I have ever had. So I don't know if that's anything to do with the silver lining, or if it's just because it's a good heavy down jacket, as well as it is two jackets put together. So there's a lot of layers going on here. So just the fact that you've got all these layers put together when you have both jackets zipped together, it makes it quite warm just because of that. I had a coworker that I was talking to about this jacket and telling him how much I liked it and how much I liked the silver lining, that I thought it really worked. And he scoffed at that and told me that this silver lining is just a gimmick. It doesn't do anything at all. And then the next thing he said was that he has some Under Armour brand outdoor clothing that has the same thing. And he said the Under Armour stuff works, but the Columbia stuff does not. And I asked him, have you used some Columbia stuff before? Have you had this from Columbia before? And he said, no, I would never buy Columbia stuff. I buy Under Armour. So I think that's one thing that I've noticed when I talk to some people about Columbia clothing is they think that it's not quite a good brand to buy. They might want a brand that has a little bit more name recognition. But as far as I'm concerned, this jacket is better than anything else because it's just performed so well for so long. Now, I will say one downside to this jacket is every time I have washed it, and I've washed it a lot over the last several years, it has lost quite a few down feathers, unfortunately. So this jacket is not nearly as heavy as it was when I first bought it. So it's a bit of a concern for me. I hope it's going to be at least half as warm. Now, I do have some other jackets that I can layer up underneath. So even if it's lost a considerable amount of its down insulation, I'm hoping that if I just layer a little bit, it will be as warm as it used to be when it was new. But it has lost a lot of down. And I think that that's just a problem with down things in general. I have another jacket from REI company here based out of Seattle that sells products, outdoor products all over the country here. And it loses a little bit of down every time I wash it, as well as my down duvet I have here in my van on my bed. I notice every time I take the duvet cover off of it, it seems to lose quite a bit of feathers. So that just seems to be something that happens with down. Guess there's not a whole lot I can do about it, but it is one of the little bad things about this Columbia 3-in-1 jacket is it's lost quite a bit of its fill, and so it's not nearly as heavy as it used to be. And my only other real complaint with this jacket is the outside fabric is a little bit noisy, and you can probably hear that. It's not terrible by any means, but it's a noisy fabric, and if I'm out walking on a trail and I'm trying to be quiet because I'm hoping to see some wildlife, seems to me like this jacket's probably not the best thing for that because it does make a lot of noise as you're walking along and as you're moving your arms. It does make some noise, and it's not the most pleasant of noise. So that's another little thing that I don't like about this Columbia 3-in-1 jacket. I'm not sure if the newer fabric is any better or worse at that, but this one is a little bit noisy and a little bit annoying to listen to. But of course, those are two little tiny complaints over a jacket that has held up very well over at least 5 seasons of use. And we'll see how many more seasons I get out of this jacket. I hope at least one more. If not, I'll have to go replace it. And with the upcoming weather, I will definitely need to replace it soon. But this has been a great jacket. And if you are preparing for winter like I am, and you're looking for a new winter jacket, I can definitely recommend Columbia products, especially if you can get to a Columbia outlet, or I believe you can actually order some things online from their outlet stores as well. They are really a good deal. So they may not be a big brand name that everybody likes to wear, and you're going to have to walk around with this little logo on you that may not be quite so posh looking for some people's opinion, but I don't really care about that. Everything about this jacket has been fantastic, and so that's why I recommend it so much, and that's why I definitely will be buying another one if this one doesn't quite work out. But we'll let you know about that, because as I said, the cold weather is here. And tonight's going to be a little bit chilly. I've had my heater on right up until I started recording this, and at this point, I think it needs to get turned back on. So I think you know what that means. That means I need to say goodbye and turn my cameras off and get my heater back on, because I'm getting chilly and my toes are past being cold. They are freezing, actually. So I think we'll end this here, and I would like to thank you for watching tonight. I really appreciate it.